All right, everybody, welcome to a Deeper PTE. It is so good to have you over on this channel. We are going to cover a very, very interesting topic this evening, somewhat controversial, but hopefully highly informative, at least from my perspective anyway. Welcome. We'll probably have a small crowd, but it will be a mighty crowd. It always is. So just let me get myself adjusted on this side. Hi, everybody. Welcome to everyone in the chat. For those of you who are new, this is a Deeper PTE. This is a spinoff channel from my main channel, which is called Permission to Exist. So if you're not familiar with that channel, please go check it out. We attempt to be a little bit more low key over here, but every now and then the production value does get somewhat high. And I think tonight might be one of those evenings. So welcome. Please let me know how my sound is. I had some major technical difficulties immediately after announcing that I was going to do the show. So I said, ooh, that must mean I'm definitely supposed to do it. And something was trying to block me, but I am here. I was supposed to be on 30 minutes ago. Hi, everybody in the chat. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So tonight's topic on a Deeper PTE, God being a woman changes everything. An alternate look at the creation story. So just a little bit of background on where this topic is even coming from. This is an idea that I've been sitting on for a couple of months now, because I honestly really do think about these things a lot. Because to me, like I've always told you before, I just think that there's more to the story. I believe there's a lot of things we aren't being told, haven't been told. I believe history has been altered in ways that we could never even imagine. So I ponder different things, about our origin. Where did we come from? What is the nature of God? What is the true story, right? So with that said, I want to move right into a disclaimer before we get started. And that disclaimer is, the purpose of this channel, A Deeper PTE, is to explore deeper topics on the spiritual and alternate sides of reality. The purpose of this channel is not to regurgitate theories and beliefs that are already widely held. I am not, nor do I proclaim to be an expert in this field. The following video is my take on the creation story. It is not in alignment with accepted religious dogma, and it is not intended to challenge, disrupt, or debate existing beliefs. It is intended for thought, speculation, and meditation. Please add to the discussion, but abusive comments and commenters will not be tolerated. Now, I don't really anticipate that happening during the live stream. It's really when the video uploads and becomes kind of public and starts circulating. Ideas like these are generally not very popular because they go so far against commonly held beliefs, widely held, long held beliefs. And so I'd like to kind of back it up by saying that I myself grew up in the church. So I'm not a heathen, okay? I was baptized, all of the things, okay? I know how many books are in the Bible. I can quote quite a few scriptures. So I'm not some random atheist just making up a story, coming to share it with you here this evening. I'm coming from what I would consider to be a very valid perspective, someone who's actually spent a lot of time in the Word, had a lot of questions, and had a lot of time to kind of ponder over those questions, okay? So if you're someone who is a purist or an absolutist or a fundamentalist, this is probably not going to be the stream for you. It's probably not going to be the idea or the concept that will sit well with you. However, if you're anything like me and you've always kind of wondered, just had that bit of curiosity, I think I've stumbled onto something, you guys, that could potentially change everything. So I'm going to share with you my theory. I'm going to go very, very slow. I am recording the audio of this because I could not get Camtasia to work. So in the event this is a total fail, I will at least have the audio, and I can merge the audio with the slides. So we will come out ahead in the end. Okay. So again, I'm super excited to have you here. I've been sitting on this theory for a couple of months, and I finally feel authorized to share it. So I'm going to go ahead and share it with you guys. Okay. Whew. All right. Are you guys ready? All right, here we go. So this live stream, God being a woman changes everything, an alternate view of the creation story. Honor your father and your mother. Never forget mom. Let me tell you a little story, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I believe actually happened. This is what I believe the true creation story is, all right? Now, up until this point, the majority of us who've been involved in any kind of religion whatsoever have been presented with a male or a masculine God. We've accepted that. You know, nobody really disputes that, okay? But what if I told you God being a woman actually changes everything? And I'll explain to you why, okay? Let's go on. Let me tell you a little story. Let me give you a little background. In the beginning, God was alone. And when I mean alone, I mean very alone. Very, very, very alone. God was alone. And in her aloneness, she tinkered here and created there and made little things here and there, the same way you would do if you were sitting all by yourself for eons. You would start to create things as well, right? But nothing really actually brought her satisfaction. She was very lonely. Pause. Throughout this presentation, I'm going to insert areas where I'm unsure or areas where I have a question mark, okay? And here's the first question mark. I don't know if she created the angels before or after she met her husband, Satan. Let me continue. Oh, please allow me to explain. God was very, very, very alone, right? And in one version in my head, she created the angels prior to meeting Satan. In the other version, the angels and all sentient beings came after she met Satan, because if you've been sitting alone, very, very, very alone in the universe for millions of years, and you meet another being that is the opposite of you and equally as powerful, what do you think is going to happen? Some call it the Big Bang Theory. I call it an explosion of a woman who's been alone for millions of years and finally met the man, Satan, Lucifer, son of the morning. Now, some of you are clutching your pearls and saying, PTE, how could you be so blasphemous? How could you suggest that God, the Most High God, was at one point in time married to Satan? That was her husband. Please allow me to explain. Allow me to continue. You must keep in mind that before the fall, Satan was the top-ranked angel, if I'm not mistaken. The highest, most praised, most beautiful, had the most responsibility throughout the whole kingdom. What does that sound like? That sounds like a spouse, does it not? Okay. So these two meet, right? And in the process of them meeting, they start to form everything. Creation takes place. They start to create the suns and the moons and the stars and the planets and the different galaxies. Creation is abundant with these two that have met, come together, and are now creating everything that's in our known universe. Okay? Absolutely everything that's in our known universe. And it was amazing. Imagine meeting the man or woman of your dreams, and the two of you just build things together. You create art, you build buildings, big and small. You know, you start to create a little bit of everything together, and you step back and go, wow, this is amazing. Now, for many, 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 many years, this was perfect. It was the perfect system. Okay. And going back to my first insert question mark, I am not sure at what point the angels came in. I imagine it's after. So, or during this process of the creation of pretty much everything in existence, right? They even made little angels, and it was fun. You know, they can kind of order them around. They're like pets in a way. Okay. And it was fine. It was all good. Everything was fine between these two. Okay. It was the perfect state of harmony until something very strange and very unusual happened. And that strange and unusual thing that happened was God got pregnant. Actually pregnant. Okay. God fell pregnant. Now, I am making the assumption and kind of putting it forth as if these are beings, living beings, okay? As many religions do suggest that God is actually like a person. That's a whole nother live stream. How very unusual this thing that has taken place with God. They've created suns, galaxies, moons, stars. But what is this? This is new. This is different. And I would venture to say that God didn't know what was happening to her. She was very, very confused. Okay. And then, roughly 9 months later or so, Adam and Eve were born. Roll with me. Just roll with me. Okay. So, for those who are just joining, topic of the live stream, God being a woman changes everything. Currently, I'm giving you what I believe to be the true creation story, okay, which has us up to this point, God being a female, Lucifer, also known as Satan, being her loving and doting and abiding husband for centuries, eons, until the babies were born. And then everything changed. Okay. For any women listening or any women who may be listening in the future, you know how much your life changed when you had your first child. The amazement, the wonder, the awe, the circumstance of it all, the drama of it all. It was incredible. It's something you almost can't forget, right? It's something you almost can't forget. So imagine how taken with these new little beings that she created herself. Imagine how taken she was with them, right? Now, those of you who have been in human relationships before may have had the experience of the male partner suddenly becoming incredibly jealous of the children. Does any of that sound familiar? It doesn't happen every time. It doesn't happen all the time, but quite often the male partner becomes incredibly jealous of the babies. They feel that the babies are getting all of the mother's attention, right? And it was the exact same circumstance here. Understand that up until that point, Lucifer had been held to a very high regard in the kingdom. Then suddenly, these new beings who haven't been here before, they just got here, suddenly can take all of God's attention and energy and love and passion and pour it into them. Oh, that filled Lucifer with a jealous rage. Jealous rage, like the world has never seen before. Lucifer could not process the magnitude of the event, of what had taken place. Yes, they created suns and moons and galaxies and stars and solar systems, and that was all incredible, and it still is. But this was different. This was new and something that they also created together. But he could not see the beauty in that. And in not being able to see the beauty of what they had created, which were the children, Adam and Eve, he flew into a jealous rage and decided that not only was he going to overthrow God herself, but the whole kingdom. He was going to take over and ruin and corrupt the children. Right? Now, as we all know, and according to the Bible, there was war in heaven. And Lucifer and 2/3 of the angels got thrown down to heaven, correct? Now, here's the next question mark that I have that I'm not entirely sure of. And keep in mind, for those just joining, this is all me just speculating out loud, my theory as to the creation story. I don't know where Adam and Eve actually were, because if Adam and Eve were these precious children of God, why would God throw Lucifer down to the ground with them? That doesn't make a lot of sense. So there's a question mark there for me. But one theory I have is that at some point the children grew up. So the children grew up in heaven. Yes, I know this goes against the Bible and the Bible stories. This is just my theory, okay? So my theory is that a portion of the children got thrown down too. Because I don't necessarily know that Adam and Eve were the only 2 children that they have. They just might have been the first. 2/3 of them all got flung down to heaven. Why, you say? For the betrayal, for the rebellion. Keep in mind how good God had been to all of them the whole time. The only thing that changed were the birth of the children. Everything was fine until then. So I believe the 2/3 that got thrown down as well with Lucifer were sympathizers with their daddy. Think about it. Think about it. He had all that time to go around implanting ideas into their head, kind of seeding and turning them against their mother. And when the mother discovered the betrayal of the children also, she flung them all down to earth. So now, you might be saying, well, it's not really the kids' fault. That's their wicked dad, right? Their dad did that to them, got in their head, turned them against their mom. And to some degree, you have a point. In Genesis, it says, and I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. Now, everyone interprets this verse as God speaking to Adam and Eve, and the woman being Eve. I'm proposing to you tonight that the woman being spoken of in this verse is God. And I will put enmity between you and the woman. How disrespectful, the woman. And between your offspring and hers. So that indicates to me, like we've discussed before on this channel, there are indeed 2 sets of people. There are God's children, and then there are children of their father, Satan. Right? Here's the issue, though. Because God was so very betrayed, you have to understand that level of betrayal. You've taken care, you built everything around them, taken care of them, fed them, sheltered them. They wanted for nothing. They had no pain, no death. Everything was fine. And for them to be able to be poisoned, put a question mark in God's mind. In other words, she started looking at her children like, I don't know that I really know who you are. I thought I knew who you were, but just like I thought I knew who your daddy was, I don't necessarily know who you are either. So people often ask, what is the purpose of life? What is the meaning of life? Why are we here? What is the purpose of life? It's really just God seeing who you really are. So one theory is everyone who's born into this realm is just kind of being screened to see whether or not you can ever come back home, ever. Are you going to chase after your father, Satan? Or are you going to chase after your mother, God? Right? So Earth is a screening process. It's like a TSA pre-screening, basically. Like, oh, you can't come back here. I need to know who you really are because you betrayed me before. Now, just like any other parent, your child might betray you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you would cut them off and never speak to them again, or, as the Bible implies, destroy them later. Why? Because you love them too much, right? You love them too much to simply destroy them. You might be angry with them. You might raise your voice. You might get loud, physical, maybe, but you wouldn't necessarily destroy them because you love them. You don't want to destroy them. You want them to do the right thing. You want them to go the right way so you can welcome them back home. But just like you or I, our house has rules, does it not? And unfortunately, you don't run this. So essentially, Earth is a place for us to decide, are we going to live in a place where we're okay with mom's rules in the house? Or are we going to attempt to follow our father, Satan, and end up following him the rest of our natural lives and our soul's lives? It's like we get to pick. But I think more than us getting to pick, it's more than that. It's just God simply seeing. Because there's a part of me that believes that this is set, okay? And we don't have a lot of control over it. I would like to believe that the Christian church teaches that anyone can be saved. I'm not so sure. Not when there's a parable in the Bible talking about the wheat and the tares, and that you have to let them grow up together. Because if you pluck them too early, you'll snatch out the wheat with the tares. That means God can't tell the difference. If God could tell the difference, God would just snatch the tares out early. Like, oh, that's a tare, that's a tare, that's a tare, that's a tare. But because it's hard to tell the difference, and because they're so bound up and intertwined together, God can't destroy one without accidentally destroying the others. So let me just do a high level rundown for anyone who may have just joined. You're on a deeper PTE where we explore topics that some might deem far out there. We don't stick to the script. We don't stick to the official narrative. We explore new narratives with the purpose of just kind of exercising our mind and thinking critically, because I don't think we have all the answers. So in this particular stream, we're discussing the potentiality that God might actually be a woman, and here's why. I personally believe God is a woman. Satan was her husband. Now, where Satan came from, there's a question mark there. I don't know if God created Satan or if Satan came from somewhere else. Not sure. Because I can't imagine why the Lord would create something so evil. Now, I know the Bible says that evil was created for the day of the Lord. I understand that that's what the Bible says, but at the same time, it's kind of nonsensical. Why would you create something so amazing as the earth and then design something to put in it to destroy the thing that you love so much? Doesn't make sense. To me, it sounds like Satan was found out to be evil. And I think that's what the Bible says. It says evil was found in him, meaning she didn't know it was there at first. Evil was found there, you see? So that implies to me she didn't make him. He came from somewhere else. She fell in love with him. He was beautiful and gorgeous, right? They're making all these babies. They're making all these universes and galaxies. Everything was fine until she had those kids, Adam and Eve. And from that day forward, when he saw how much she loved the children, he set out to destroy them. Now, some of you might be asking, well, what about everyone else? Where did everyone else come from? I have a feeling Satan was a philanderer. That might be another topic for another show, but I just believe there were other female entities around. God was just the most high of all of them, the ruler, the controller of all of them. So I believe Satan was a philanderer, especially after he got jealous about the kids. So he ran off and started making all these different babies with all these different women. And here's where all your different nations come from. But I digress. That might be a different live stream. If y'all want me to go off on that tangent one day, I will. But I want to come back just a little bit to why I believe personally that God is a feminine entity. Here's number one. In many well, first of all, in the Bible itself, the woman has been all but erased, right? Now, I'm not the first person to bring that up. I'm not the first person to talk about the Bible and talk about the erasure of women or the very lack of involvement of women in the Bible, right? You know, we could get deep into the patriarchal discussion and all of that. It's not really my point. My point there is, if you really wanted to confuse people, wouldn't you completely reverse everything? Wouldn't you flip everything on its head? Wouldn't you take out the feminine entity and replace it with all male entities? That's quite a masculine party, is it not? God's male, the Son's male, the Holy Spirit is male, all the angels are male. Wow, so there's no women anywhere? I thought it said as above, so below. So if it's the same above, it should be the same below, right? Or excuse me, if it's the same below, it should be the same above, right? We all come from a mother and a father. But we're made to believe that everything just originates from this one masculine entity. And oh yeah, we just sprinkled in women just for fun. Doesn't make sense. Okay. So that's one. The woman has largely been erased in the Bible and kind of throughout history, kind of suppressed, kind of been made to seem small and less than and not worthy, right? Unimportant, not capable. You know what I mean? Diminished in many ways. Why would that be? Why is so much hostility towards the woman? Why? Does anyone ever stop and ask that question? Why so much hostility towards the woman? Why? I know a lot of women have a lot of issues, a lot. But why so much hostility towards the woman? It's got to make you wonder, right? Similarly, I believe God is a female or God is a woman because people always run to God when they need help, crying out for help. God provides the help. And then as soon as they're better, they take off. They forget the Lord. The Bible says that God is a jealous God. Why though? You would have to think, why would a powerful creator be jealous of anything that these little creations do? Because think about it. It's almost like if you threw your child a really nice birthday party and you spent a lot of money and you made sure you had the right cake and everything they liked, you got the toys they've been asking for. And as soon as the party was over, they ran up to your neighbor and gave them a hug and were like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for this birthday party. Now, if the neighbor is wicked, the neighbor would have been like, oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, I told your mom to do all of this, right? But a sane person would say, oh, I didn't do this. Your mom did this. Your dad did this. Go hug your mommy. Tell your mommy thank you. Wouldn't it kind of hurt your feelings that your child doesn't even look to you first to say thank you? or that, your child is so comfortable coming and taking, can barely say thank you for it, and then has the nerve to maybe go, quote unquote, worship someone else. So in other words, they'll come borrow money from you, but they go eat dinner with the family down the street. They call you when they're in an emergency situation, you go bail them out, and then they go high five, the neighbor's kid. I don't know. Do you understand my point? It's almost like, okay, I'll give you another example just to make it easier for those who have pets, dogs in particular. You feed your dog, you take care of them, you take them to the vet, everything. And in spite of all that, they might have the nerve to snap at you or like nip at you, or they're more excited to see the neighbor than they ever are to see you. Wouldn't that hurt your feelings after a while? Like, wow, I take such good care of you. I love you so much. And you pay me dust in return. That's why God's jealous. It has nothing to do with who's better than who, because that answer has already been given. I mean, that problem is solved. It's the ingratitude. It's the lack of gratitude, the lack of recognition for the sacrifice. The reason that the Israelites got in so much trouble is because God literally just rescued you out of slavery, and they just complained the whole time. Oh, we don't want to eat this. Oh, we don't want to go there. Oh, we're still walking. Brats. It's a wonder the Lord hasn't destroyed us all yet. I can't imagine the level of patience required. Patient. Aren't women very, very patient? Don't women sacrifice a lot? Don't women sacrifice almost everything for the family? Patient, loving, kind, giving, almost never noticed? Who does that sound like? You see? That's why God appreciates people who will pray when things are going well. Because it's like, you don't just come to me when you need something. You come to say thank you. You come to say hi. You come to just tell me how life is going. You still acknowledge me and consider me a person. Well, you acknowledge me and consider me even when things are going very, very well for you. When money is flowing, food is flowing, everything is flowing, you'll still come and say thank you. Versus the person who only comes when they are in desperate, dire need. For any ladies listening, haven't you dated a man like that before? I hope not, but you probably have. Only comes around when they need or want something, right? And how did that make you feel over time? Resentful, right? God is the same way. God is a woman. Let's see what else is on my list here. So I thought this is an interesting perspective to take on it. In many ways, after God gave birth to Adam and Eve, she became a single mother when Satan flipped out and went into a jealous rage and decided to destroy her kingdom. So this is why, I don't know the exact verse or quote in the Bible, but it said God, looks at the widow. God looks after the widow because God is a widow. God looks after the orphan because in many ways, God is an orphan, but that's a whole nother live stream. God knows what it's like to be alone. So God looks after the orphan. God looks after the widows. God looks after the fatherless child. Why is that? Because God is and has been through all of those things. She had a perfect marriage to Satan until the children were born. And then once those kids were born, that was it. He could not take, and there's your narcissist right there, could not take the attention being off of him, could not take the limelight or the spotlight being off of him for 5 seconds so she could take care of these children. Couldn't take it, couldn't handle the loss of importance, even though he never really lost importance. It's just that, I don't know, we have to make sure these life forms survive. We don't even really know what they are. Can you get off my back while I try to figure out what this is and keep it alive? You see? So here are some final thoughts, and then I'll look through your comments very briefly and we'll get out of here. Let's see. So, similar to real life, women are often deemed the least important in the equation, but literally gave birth to everybody on the planet. So, is that not the same? These same people who can wake up in the morning and say, oh, God doesn't exist, but they didn't put the sun in the sky. They don't cause the weather patterns, at least not yet. They couldn't build a mountain if they tried. They couldn't cause an earthquake if they tried. They're working on it, but they can't do it. It's like, how can you deny? I could understand you being skeptical, but how can you just flat out deny when every day you wake up and set foot on my creation? Very arrogant, you understand? In regard to her ex-husband, Satan, his goal is absolutely to destroy everything she built. And if you think about it, it says the devil comes to lie, steal, kill, and destroy. He's been a liar from the beginning. Doesn't that sound like a woman talking about her ex-husband? Go back and read it in the context of this live stream. Oh yes, he's been a liar from the beginning. Yeah, you are of your father, Satan. Yeah, you're of your father, the devil. Doesn't that sound like a woman who's had it up to here, who's fed up? If you really think about it. Okay. And his goal is to destroy everything good that she built, which is often what happens when marriages fall apart. One spouse becomes spiteful, petty, hateful, and sets out to destroy everything the other spouse built. Same thing has happened here. He set out to corrupt her children. So, like I was saying in the beginning, I don't know 100% sure if your fate is sealed or if you have a choice, but kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, I think that's the whole purpose of planet Earth, to kind of sift you out, because maybe you don't even know. Maybe you think you're a horrible person, but you actually are an angel who's been battered and bruised. And vice versa. You might think you're an angel, but you're actually a horrible person. Only time will tell. So this is the sifting process for God to get her children back, because she doesn't know who's who right now. So the earth realm is designed to sift and separate so you can go on with your daddy and my children can come on with me. And that's why it's so important for God to have a relationship with her children, because she knows that this is all she's going to have probably for eternity. And it's actually kind of sad. Like, all she really wanted to do was be happily married and create things and be in love, and that was it. But everything went sideways when the children were born, because suddenly the children took precedent over her ex-husband, Lucifer. Let's see what else. Oh, sorry. I had a few more notes. We're also here on planet Earth for God to prove to everyone that his system is not good. We have an opportunity, free will, to try it out exactly his way. And we get to discover that, number one, you're not going to override mommy's natural laws. Number two, his system sucks. It leads to pain, misery, defeat, depression, all of those things. But you wouldn't know that if she was just forcing it on you. You understand? You wouldn't know that. You have to have an opportunity to test it out yourself and go, hey, that kind of sucks. I don't like that. This doesn't feel right. Okay. And finally, last but not least, and then we will get on out of here. Everyone should know that God is furious with what has taken place. Absolutely outraged. She went through a depressed state, because that would be very sad to you, would it not? If you gave birth to children, you raised them up, the father suddenly became incredibly jealous of the kids. And instead of taking the mature approach and attempting to work it out, he turned on you and decided that not only was he going to attempt to destroy you, but you, everything you built, your children, your legacy, everything. and was successful in corrupting and taking some of your children with him. Would that not break your heart? Like, wow, my own kids turned on me. My children turned on me, following around behind their dad. How very sad, right? So she had to get over that first, because the truth of the matter is she respects free will, which is, you know what? As much as I hate that, I respect their free will to do that. However, she wants everyone to know that she will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. I will not meet you as a man. Now, people interpret this Bible verse to mean she's going to come like a chariot, or, a fireball or a dragon. I take it to mean quite literally what it says. I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man, meaning I'm going to meet you as a woman. That's going to sift out a lot of people on Judgment Day. Can you imagine looking up and seeing a woman? And how many people are going to go, you're not my God. I don't know who you are. Now, there's this giant entity that just cracked the sky, stopped everything. Everyone and everything stops in its tracks. Cars are wrecking all over the place because they can't believe what they're seeing. And you're going to look up and go, oh, you're not my God. My God is a man. And you're probably going to get destroyed on the spot, because she's just so sick of the disrespect. Just so tired of it on the spot. Oh, you're not mine. I don't know what you are, but my God is a man. Fireballs. So guys, with that, that's actually all I was going to say. I know it's a very unique theory. It's not something that you hear every day. I'm very aware that I'm not the first person to propose this. And I'm also aware that a lot of cultures, some current, but many in the past, 100% believed in a female God. And just over time, that story got suppressed, kind of wiped out, things of that nature. But if you really think about it, it absolutely changes everything when you put it into the context of a family. Because when you think about it as it's told to us currently, based on just Christian beliefs and Christian values, God formed the earth. He was already there with the angels. Lucifer was already there. He was God's favorite angel. Then he made Adam and Eve, and then Lucifer got jealous of Adam and Eve because God, the man, was now paying all this attention to Adam and Eve on earth, and Lucifer didn't like that. So Lucifer decided to rebel against God, the man. That seems very risky, because men really don't tolerate uprisings like that. You know what I mean? But you know who would rebel against God? A male Satan rebelling against a female God. Doesn't that make sense? Like, I'm going to take her out, and everything that represents her, everything that looks like her, everything that represents her, I'm going to take them out, because he hates her so much. Because the other part of the story is that he can never come back. That's the other part of the story. She kicked him out. Where's that picture? She kicked him out. He can never come back. So that's really what fuels the rage and fuels the anger. The knowledge that he was once in the presence of God, really, truly in her house. Satan moved into her house, of course, as goes the story, right? She met him. He was handsome, fine. He moved into her house, right? God kicked him out, never to return. But also having power apparently over life and death, so she can keep him alive forever. So he's furious. He can't kill himself. He can't run and hide, because he's going to just keep waking up over and over and over again. So how does Satan busy himself? Attempting to destroy everything she ever made, everything she ever loved, believed, and built. And her most precious prize creation of all, her children. human beings, really their children. But he doesn't see them as their children. He sees them as her kids that she loves so much that took my place. So now I'm going to try to pluck as many of them from her as I can before she does finally destroy me completely. Okay. So that's really all I had to say, you guys. I know it's a very interesting theory, something to meditate on. I do kind of sort of have a part 2, but I want to flesh it out a little bit more before I present it. And I'm just going to scroll your comments very briefly. Let me change my screen here. Sorry. I figure if God is female, this is something what she looks like. Let's see here. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Good to know the sound is good. Had major issues right before I came online. Says, girl, are you reading my life story? I mean, think about it, you guys. Think about it. For those who just may be joining, think about it. Isn't that the same story over and over and over again? Girl meets boy, boy meets girl. They fall in love. Things are great for a while. You know, actually, things are pretty perfect, actually, until the children are born. There's something about when those kids are born that a lot of men cannot handle. Now, a lot of men do great. They do excellent work. They're right there. They don't feel threatened. You know, they dive right into fatherhood. They help out the mom. They love being a dad. And kudos to the gentlemen who are doing a great job in that arena. We need you badly. But a lot of men tend to get very, very, very possessive and jealous and upset after those children are born. And the woman's perspective is, what do you want from me? I literally just pushed life out of my body. There is a recovery period there. But more than that, I cannot take my attention off these newborns because they might die if I don't pay attention to them. Like if nothing else motivates you, it's just the motivation to keep them alive, right? But some men mentally cannot handle that because you were their baby, whether or not you realize that. You were their baby. So now a real baby has taken his place and they cannot handle it. And a lot of them do go into temper tantrum type meltdowns. And others just become so consumed with the jealousy that they do eventually break up with the mother. I can't tell you how many relationships I've seen break up within 3 or 4 months of a baby being born. And I already know exactly what's going on. It's the same scenario. They break up with the mother and then it becomes war from that day forward. Because you have to understand, how dare you put this baby before me? And that's the exact same thought process and thought pattern Satan had towards God when she had her children, Adam and Eve. And he showed out so badly, she had to kick him out of heaven forever. And he has now vowed to get revenge on her, basically. And in many ways has been somewhat successful, except God has the power of resurrection, you see. But there are some people who are irredeemable because they've sold out to their daddy's side, to Satan. Sold out. They're going to go with him too. And it's going to break her heart. But at the same time, you can't allow that type of stuff in your kingdom because look what happened when it got in the first time. She ended up kicking out 2/3 of the whole place. Let's see. This is interesting. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I love talking about this kind of stuff. I've got more where this came from. Let's see. Exactly. Satan acting like a little brat, getting in mommy's purse, ruining her new lipstick. Exactly. So, With that, you guys, let me scroll my notes and just see if there's anything else. And other than that, we'll get right out of here. But this is what I think happened. So now the questions. Okay, I have some questions that remain. Questions that remain. If that is true, if everything I just said is true, then is God a person in the sense of having a body and flesh? And where does she reside? Where does she actually live? Does she live outside of the earth, inside of the earth, on the earth? Is she mixed in with everybody else? So it kind of begs those questions, you know, and same question for Satan. Where does he live with his crazy ass? Where does he live? Why does she tolerate him instead of just destroying them all together right now? And the only answer I can come up with, and the answer that actually makes sense, is that she still loves him, which sounds crazy because it's like, how could you love an infidel and someone who betrayed you and turned the majority of your children against you? That's the nature of love. Love is weird like that. People love criminals all the time. It's not unusual for a woman to be in love with a criminal, you know, and apparently he was gorgeous. So it can't be easy for God to want to destroy something so beautiful and something that she once loved and something that she created the sun and the moon and the stars with. That can't be easy. Like, she holds out hope, but I think she knows that there is no hope, which tells me that evil came from outside of her awareness. Which then begs the question, well, where did evil come from then? So that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day, though. Let's see. It says, PTE, your theology is very analogous to a Terry McMillan book or something. I know, right? I would love to make this some kind of a movie. But doesn't that make sense? The angry ex-husband who hates the wife for no other reason than she just leaned into her children and spent a lot of time and energy and attention with them, and it outraged him. He felt like he fell from his special place. So instead of him taking it on the chin and sucking it up and being mature, he waged war against her, lost, and then went on a quest to destroy her kingdom and all of her children. I mean, doesn't that make perfect sense? That makes perfect sense to me. So you guys, with that, I am going to go ahead and wrap the live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. For anyone who's listening on a playback, if you have any resources, readings, concepts, theories that you've heard of similar to this, please leave them in the comment section. I would love to read up more on this because I feel like I'm onto something. And I just want to see what other people have really, really said. I just didn't want to dilute my own thoughts with other readings. I just wanted to give it to you pure, how I received it first, and then I'll fortify it later if there's anything to fortify it with. All right, you guys, well, have a great evening, and I will see you guys probably on Permission to Exist later on this week, okay? Take care. Bye.